Welcome back to NHL Tonight. Free agent face-off. Billy, we start with you. And these two, compelling. Landeskog, Hall. Who are you going with?
I'm going to take Gabriel Landeskog. Consistency, 20 goals in the bank. The numbers match up better for Taylor Hall, but the more complete all-around game for Landeskog is impressive for me. Taylor Hall's been on 4 teams in the last 2 years. Only had 2 goals for Buffalo in the time there. Went to Boston, played better, had 14 points in 16 games. But Landeskog, all around with the size, the body, the compete level, the proven leadership. He's been the captain there in Colorado for a number of years. For me, for adding a guy like that to my locker room would be, I know exactly what I'm getting. At this point with Taylor Hall, I don't know what I'm getting.
I'm calling timeout. So on TV, they make you wear an earpiece so we can hear what's going on. The ear that I had closest to you, I thought I heard you say that Taylor Hall had 2 goals in Buffalo.
2 goals in Buffalo, yes.
2 goals in Buffalo?
Yes. That's, even though Buffalo was having problems, yes, Taylor Hall, former MVP just a few years back.
And when he got to Boston,
yes,
it
was better. It was better. The knee surgeries and the first step. He did look like he had a quicker first step. And on that second line with Krejci and Smith fit in very well in Boston. But there is the questions. When you've been on 4 teams in the last 2 years and you bounced around like that, teams are wondering where you're at health-wise. Can you get back to that MVP level? When I take a look at Gabriel Landeskog, every night he's going to show up for me. He's going to do exactly what he does. There hasn't been a dip or drop in his play. It seems that there has been this ups and downs, ebbs and flows. So if you want to gamble, you go Hall. If you want the surefire thing, then you got to go Landeskog.
Yeah, and you can you're going to know right now, I paid attention to the leaders in the locker room in Florida my first couple of years. Billy was one of them, and I couldn't agree more with everything he said right there. Landeskog, I like the grit, the attitude, the leadership, all those intangibles that he brings to the table. Yeah, Taylor Hall, he's prettier, he's fancier, he's maybe got more upside offensively, but a lot of that seems to be athletic. You know, where does he fit into a system with the 4 teams? Why can't this guy stick somewhere with how skilled he is? Well, is it there's something where he's not thinking the game with the system-wise or whatever it may be? I think he's a spectacular hockey player, don't get me wrong. But everything Billy said about Gabriel Landeskog, his attitude, what he brings to the table, what he does off the ice in the Towns, you know, how much he gives back to Towns. He's just A-plus character kind of guy, and you know exactly what you're going to get out of him. You got a guy that, hey, if maybe he doesn't have the offense going that night, he might go stand up for a teammate and get a fight to get your team going. He's going to make the big play defensively to get your team going. He's going to find a way to be part of every game, every night, as opposed to where Taylor Hall does kind of fall asleep sometimes.
The Avs named him captain when he was 11. Right?
Close.
Do you remember?
11 or 12, somewhere in that,
Do you know what I mean?
range.
Like that.
Oh, actually, they waited until he got to be a teenager.
Okay, so 13. Captain since 13. On the topic of numbers, Emma, our outstanding researcher, said Taylor Hall, 2 goals in 37 games for Buffalo, and in Boston, a goal every other game he averaged. What a stark contrast. My goodness. On to the next. Kyle Palmieri, Mike Hoffman. Perry, lead us off.
Oh, well, I gotta go with my former Binghamton teammate, Mike Hoffman, my fellow winger. We played on the same line. I like Kyle Palmieri there. What he did, obviously, he stepped it back up in the playoffs. He's been a consistent goal scorer. You look at the numbers, Hoffman's obviously got a little bit more assists. The big thing that put me over the top on it was Mike Hoffman, see what he did for St. Louis. When he started scoring goals late in the year and then going into the playoffs, he absolutely changed St. Louis's outlook. He single-handedly can take over games. He can win games. He's that threat where you get on a power play. He sets over there opposite side of Ovechkin. You know when he gets it, he's going to shoot it, and he does beat you more often than not, that's for sure. He's just a pure sniper, and I think he's the kind of guy that can fit in, and I would take Mike Hoffman on my team for him.
I'm going to go the other way, Kyle Palmieri. I had a chance with Mike Hoffman a couple of years to go to see him up front, personal, every game in Florida. And Mike Hoffman can score goals, and he's legit. And to me, at times, can be a one-trick pony. The goal scoring is where it starts and ends. Kyle Palmieri can battle. He can play on basically all 4 lines. You want to put him on the first line or to the 4th line. He's going to grind, and he'll hit people. I like the style that he plays, and he's perfect over there with the New York Islanders, and Lou Lamoriello knew what he was getting when he traded for him. When I watched Hoffman and the ice time got diminished at times for him, he would he would disappear. He would sleep. And it happened this season in St. Louis where they weren't happy and they had to scratch him a couple of games. And it was after being a healthy scratch for a couple of games that he came back and he lit it up for the Blues. But he's a guy that has to be in the perfect situation, has to get the first power play minutes.
Yes.
If he's on the second power play, it doesn't work. Palmieri doesn't need the power play minutes. His even strength goal total numbers are excellent every season, and I put a lot of stock in that. If you score a lot of goals at even strength, you're doing something. And Hoffman, to me, the defensive liabilities are there. There's times that he doesn't back check, times that he doesn't compete. He's way more of a natural goal scorer than Palmieri. But for me, all around, complete package, I'm going to take Palmieri.
So you guys are split on that forward faceoff. The next one, Billy, you first. Nick Foligno, Paul Stastny, veterans, and I think about two of the high hockey IQ guys that you can't find anyone in the league who will say anything negative about their character.
Absolutely not. Nick Foligno, 33. What makes the big difference on this board actually is the 2 years.
Okay.
The 33 to 35 makes a big difference. And Paul Stastny's lost a step. Can't keep up, and it's all about speed and pace in the game today. If you can't skate, you're going to have problems. And the 2021 cap hit, $1 million cheaper for Foligno. Foligno is too. He's in Columbus there, the captain. A lot of talk, and he goes over to the Maple Leafs. And they wanted that grinding type forward. And you look what Coleman and Gaudreau did in Tampa Bay on a Stanley Cup team. Nick Foligno, to me, is one of those type of players. He can go in there and play that third-line role, score timely goals, and excellent all around in your dressing room. Paul Stastny's Paul Stastny's got more talent.
Yes.
Through his veins. But you can't keep up. 35, those 2 years. And 35's, to me, when you start to, the cliff starts to enter.
You start to feel it.
To me, there's only decline left, unfortunately, for Stastny in the upcoming years, is where I feel Foligno still has a few good years of good quality hockey in him. There, I go for Foligno.
How about you, Perry?
I, again, couldn't agree more with Billy. I like what he brings to the table. He reminds me of that Landeskog. He brings that grit, he brings that bite, and his all-around game compared to Stastny's is a better game. And yeah, that 2 years at that age, at 33, 35, that does make a difference. I remember being there, and the 33 felt okay, and 35 felt, uh-oh. It's kind of how it felt. And I think Foligno, with his style of game where he's not just relying offensively like Paul Stastny, he does a lot of things besides that. He brings in that grit. You know, as a centerman, he's pretty good on face-offs. He PK, he'll fight. He gets in Toronto and he goes out and fights right away for his captain, for Tavares. He does all those things that's just so big in a locker room. The leadership, and how about just the leadership in the locker room, the character, what he brings to the table, his age, his attitude. I'm Foligno all day long.
His quote, our captain was on the ice. He said it so matter-of-factly, it gives me goosebumps. I love the game of hockey and the loyalty within the room. Last one, gentlemen. Perry, you are up. Zach Hyman, Jaden Schwartz. Pick one.
Oh, this one I found to be actually kind of the toughest one. But again, the first thing that I look at with Hyman is the cap hit. You look at that cap hit, he's a little younger, he hasn't played as long, but he has put up numbers. Obviously, he's been in Toronto, he's got a lot of help behind him, but he's shown he can keep up. He can do everything just as well with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he's a guy where anybody right now, teams at 29, obviously, you're just looking to add him. Schwartz, same age, obviously, but to go in, you get a Schwartz where you get the playoffs, you get the Stanley Cup, you have all that. But I like Zach Hyman right now. He's been part of an organization that's whole mentality has been win, win, win. Obviously, they've come up a little bit short there in Toronto, but that's the kind of atmosphere he's used to. He's used to a club that's doing what they can, that going for it all, that character, that chemistry in the locker room, and guys like that are tough to come by. I like Zach Hyman.
Gotta go with Zach Hyman. If you're out there in the NHL and you want to look at comparables, where do you go first? Yanni Gourde, Coleman, Gaudreau, correct?
Okay.
All right, so that's the comparables. You want that line because that seems to be the X factor for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Out of those two players, Jaden Schwartz, more natural goal scorer. But if you look at Zach Hyman, he played on the top line at times, but he can play on your third line. He'll dig down deep in the corners. He's always out there at the end of the games protecting leads. He's not going to sack anything sacrifice anything defensively to go offensively. A lot of grit there, and if you get that kind of player into your locker room, into your system, then you're that much closer to winning a Stanley Cup. It's digging pucks out of the corners, that type of stuff. It goes so far beyond that. And Jaden Schwartz, he's had some inconsistencies. The goal scoring is the producing, but to me, he has to be on the right line and have the right fit and continue to produce the numbers. And if you take Schwartz and you put him on the power play and put him in good scenarios, there's an argument for him too. And you have the one argument for Schwartz that was tough for me on this was his playoff performance. The year they won it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I look back to that playoff performance, and this is where I was torn, because he was so exceptionally good in that playoff performance for St.
And you
Louis.
add weight to that.
Yeah, so I add a lot of weight to that playoff performance. If I go by the regular season, then Zach Hyman. But yes, having a Stanley Cup championship, this is the closest I had between any of these two players. Jaden Schwartz, in winning that Stanley Cup, deserves a lot of credit because of the productive numbers, and he came up. And if you show up in the playoffs and you produce, there's one area that Zach Hyman and the Toronto Maple Leafs, it hasn't happened for him. All this is based on the regular season. So Jaden Schwartz, and I'm talking about coveted players and making Stanley Cup, but he did do it at the right time when healthy. So I'm gonna call it a tie.
That's hockey history.
I'm usually very decisive.
We've been doing this shootout for years.
I'm usually very decisive on this, but it's just so hard to pick between these two in my mind, because one having a Stanley Cup and being very productive, the other can play on all four lines, and that's what everyone's looking around the NHL for at this time. So, yeah, I guess if I had to flip a coin, I'm going to take Hyman, but I'd take either of them.
Keep it tie. I love it. They're a tie.
Ty, you're supposed to be decisive and be all out, but
no,
there are times that I just look and I can't decide.
I love it.
To unwrap the 2020-21 NHL season with help from our friends at Upper Deck. We have quite the collection of cards here, and we're going to unwrap some with help from our friends at Upper Deck. I got Wayne Gretzky. I think I automatically win.
The only thing better than watching Matt Barzal skate at 1,000,000 miles an hour is the shininess of this.
Nick Suzuki, a pretty nice card to add to your collection.
John Tavares, everybody. I got the captain.
Patrick Kane, the autograph cards, not trading that one.
Part of the roots of the game, hockey cards.
Who doesn't love cards, though? Seriously?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Being a fan.
We've got a Logan Couture portraits card with featuring the old school laser backgrounds.
What do we got? I love those cards. Those are awesome.
Guy Lafleur.
Oh,
Yes!
The legend.
show that card.
And Alexis Lafreniere. This is a masterpiece, fellas.
Fireworks show. Upper Deck. Sick card. Looks like he's
sick.
South Beach.
Get you some Zach Parise.
We love our relationship with Upper Deck and keep sending these cards. These are beautiful. It's fun, man.
That was the best of our fun with Upper Deck cards this season, and here we are, season finale. The cup has been awarded, so we have to do one more time. We get to do one more time with opening some really great cards, and we start by talking a little free agency, because that's coming up really soon. So we've got a few free agents here that are in this new pack I opened. Check out Tuukka Rask. This one really sweet. Of course, he's got the gold and black, but also the nice little shiny silver on it as well. You know, he's a UFA, but he spent all 14 of his NHL seasons so far with the Boston Bruins. So I can't imagine him with another team, but we shall see in a couple weeks. The next one, Gabriel Landeskog, the captain. And I like this card because it's kind of got that old school feel, and he's got the old school look.
Filthy looking jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Filthy in a good way.
It's really cool.
That's impressive.
So what about Gabriel Landeskog makes him a very tantalizing target on the open market lot?
Well, geez, you'd like to think that Colorado will do everything at all costs to bring him back. Of course, at some point, Nathan McKinnon is going to come off of his super inexpensive contract. Mikko Rantanen, he already got paid. But Landeskog, to me, is the guy that's had such great consistency. Just look at the last 3 years. He's averaged nearly a point a game. He was tremendous in the playoffs this year. He had 13 points in 10 games. He's their leader. He's their captain. I can't imagine him going anywhere else. And yet I talk to teams all the time that would love to have him.
For sure.
I mean, you can't believe it. And teams that maybe that I haven't talked to, like the New York Rangers, what a fit he would be for them. If they could somehow work that in, maybe get a little bit more grit into their lineup, he'd be the perfect guy. Can't wait to see how that plays out.
He is another one, though, like Tuukka, that it's going to be hard to see him or imagine him in another jersey.
Tuukka's
since he's been in Colorado. Yeah, well, Gabriel's been in Colorado since he was drafted second overall, they reckon 2011, and he's been so good for the Avs. We'll see if they can come to an agreement. Finally, on the UFA market, this lovely little green Canes jersey. Yeah, exactly, for Dougie Hamilton. Now, he is not a lifer with any team. He's already had 3 stops. So do you think he will add a new stop now this summer?
I believe he will. Carolina probably not going to budge on their offer to him, around the $6 million range. And when you go into the open market, Hamilton, not many right-handed offensive defensemen, not many offensive defensemen as UFAs this summer. There's him and Tyson Barrie that are going to be in the market, and there will be a few teams that bid on him. That might push the price up higher for Hamilton if he wants to get up into that $7 million range, and you're basically guaranteed. His last 3 full seasons, when you go back to the 82-game schedule, he's averaged 16 goals a year and 40 points in that range. So you're basically getting 15 goals and 40 to 50 points if you're a team out there. Does he have some defensive liabilities? At times, maybe. At times. But do you take him to quarterback at power play and push it? So if you're Hamilton, if you want to go back to Carolina and be part of that system, Carolina is going to be, in my opinion, firm, hold, give you a contract, you want it. And if not, go on that free agent market.
Stay in Carolina.
And if you go on that free agent market, he might have some suitors.
Well, I think this guy would have the most suitors of anyone coming up here, although I don't think anyone's going to get the opportunity because it's Alex Ovechkin, guys. We're talking about the Great 8, one of the greatest players of all time, and I don't think there's a chance he goes anywhere but Washington, at least this coming year, when he's primed to tie Marcel Dion for 5th all-time on the goals list in NHL history. But as we take a look at this sweet card with him putting all of his weight into that wicked wrister, I don't know. I mean, do you think he signs long-term in Washington? What number of years, I guess, should we say? Not if he signs in Washington.
Yeah, after what they did with Nick Backstrom, and I know they felt like maybe they needed to catch up a little bit with Nick because they were extremely generous with him, not necessarily just with the salary, but the term. Are they going to do that with Ovechkin? I think the world has changed a little bit from then, and it's caused a little bit of a quagmire for the Washington Capitals. You cannot disrespect this guy because he strikes me as the type of guy, if you did that to, he would leave and play with their people line. You can go with the KHL. Anybody would take him on their team. He's a proven winner. He's a proven goal scorer, Billy. I don't know. What team do you think could use an Alex Ovechkin?
Everybody.
What team couldn't, exactly.
Everybody could use an Alex Ovechkin. And interesting to see what it plays out. What does he want to do as far as contract-wise? Because in Washington, the window, Stanley Cup window, maybe this year and maybe one more year at the most, and then they're going to have to start retooling things. So Ovechkin, maybe he just thinks 2-year deal, play out the window, and then see what happens after that.
That would
make
work
a lot
for
of
the
history
Caps.
in the.
That would work for Caps and for he's got to have faith in his durability and everything. He's seems to be healthy every season.
Is he going to break Gretz or not? Goal scoring record?
No, that's a little too much to ask.
You know what? I thought yes.
Do you believe he would? You too?
I thought yes.
I'm closer to Jamie than to you. I'm not a hard no.
Let me explain. I thought yes until COVID hit. And then suddenly he lost even more games because it was a shortened season last season. Then there was a much shortened season this year, and he had to do the COVID protocol, plus he was injured at the end. I mean, he's lost so many games. He had the entire lockout year, the lockout shortened year. So if he had as many years as he's had that were full 82-game years, then I'd say absolutely he gets Gretzky, but I don't know now.
I'm with you. I literally think it will be that close, where maybe he needs another 80 games or so.
If he had those games back, what if?
What if?
Let's keep unwrapping these cards. Now, these guys aren't free agents.
Oh, can I see that purple?
Don't worry, we're getting to it. Here we go. This one, boom, flashy, just like the guy himself, Jack Eichel. He is not set to be a UFA, but he will probably be in a different sweater than the one you're seeing currently, probably in a few weeks' time, wouldn't you think?
Boy, I think the Buffalo Sabres, as unthinkable as it may sound, would love for that to happen, but it's not an easy trade. I mean, we've discussed this quite a bit here on NHL Network. The injury just causes another wrinkle. The pandemic has clearly affected the salary cap, so there's less salary cap space available. Guy's making $10 million. He's got term. There's no doubt about his ability, and yet there's a question about the injury in his ability. So because of all of that, Billy, I'm only a maybe on him getting traded in the next few weeks. I think it'll happen eventually, though, Jimmy.
Okay.
Kevin Adams under a lot of pressure there. Trying to get that deal done.
And everyone knows he's desperate, too. That's why it's hard.
He's asking for everything under the sun at this moment for Eichel. So the price might have to come down before they trade Eichel.
So we go from a really flashy, bright purple background to this card. Now check this one out. This one's translucent. You can see right through it. It's really awesome. It's Seth Jones. And he's another guy that is definitely on the trade block. He's made it known that he does not want to stay in Columbus. So where do you think he'd be a good fit, Billy?
John, David, if you look around, maybe some teams for Seth Jones, New Jersey Devils might make sense.
Oh, yeah.
For a team like him.
Great move for them.
The Los Angeles Kings, Philadelphia Flyers, and Winnipeg Jets would be at the top of my list. And maybe, does Dallas try and get him back home?
That would be incredible.
That would be incredible if they tried to get him back
would
home.
have.
Oh, those D?
You could pair him with Heiskanen
And
Klingberg and Lindell. That would be an incredible top four.
But doesn't want to re-sign in Columbus. What a problem they've had there over the year. But Columbus is in rebuild mode. Their prospect pool is not very deep. I've seen it ranked by different categories, and it's in the bottom 10 every time I see it ranked. So they've got to start to retool through the draft. You can get a lot for Seth Jones and start to rebuild. Does Seth Jones want to be part of a rebuild?
Right.
Starting to be on that mode. He wants to be out, test free agency, and go. So he'll be on the new teams, and there is a lot of hits for him, and they will get a lot back. So it could be a win-win.
Yeah.
I'll take Columbus. Him on your over-under in the next few weeks on a trade for him.
Okay.
Yes, I will. He's just too valuable, and he's got the cheap contract. That makes it a lot easier.
Right. And 2 weeks from today is when the NHL draft begins, so I think you're right. There might be some
Don't
moves.
scare us like that.
Let's have some fun here and open up some cards ourselves, shall we? Here you go.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much. All right.
I'll do one, too. Why not? I want to do the Connor McDavid pack.
Oh, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
I got Cale Makar on my cover.
What a way
I
to
love
start.
that. Just on the cover, but I'll back that up with a little Connor McDavid.
Oh, just him, huh?
Connor McDavid. I got to do this right, just so everybody can see it perfectly. I'll get my ugly face out of there, so.
I mean,
you just see the tie.
The guy coming off a 105-point season. Yeah.
What a historic year he had. Broke that 100-point mark. Everybody said no chance any player would do that. Of course, this young man did do it, and he's got many more 100-point seasons in him when you think about it was only a 56-game season this year, and he did it. So that's incredible.
That is impressive.
I love that. What else you got? What do you got, Billy? What's your best?
I got Phil the Thrill.
Phil the Thrill.
He could be on the move.
He can never win it. That guy will never be a champ. Oh, he's got 2 Stanley Cups.
So there
that's right.
it is.
Oh,
he is a champion.
There, Phil Kessel.
You know what's cool?
Looking at the back of this, there's some good numbers on there, lots. There's 37, 28, 37, 34.
Well,
it dropped all the way down this year a little bit in the shortened season, but there's some healthy goal numbers on there.
I was pretty excited to get Brock Besser because, I'm from Minnesota and I always like to show the hometown state some love. But really quickly, I want to show you this one because we already had a really flashy Jack Eichel card already, right, in the other pack. Look at this one. It's blue and flashy. So everyone, they get the characteristics right on these guys, right? They know the flashy guys deserve flashy cards.
I have to show this one because it's amazing.
Please do.
Look at the thickness of this card.
Oh, wow. And there's some sort of, puck in there?
It's got a signature. It looks like the piece of a puck has been superimposed. Billy, take a look at this if the camera can just track with it, too.
That's
Craig Anderson's signature on this.
Oh, wow.
That is really fascinating.
This card is the equivalent of about 6 or 7 cards thick.
Yeah.
That's what's really unique about it.
And that game-used puck, probably.
Yeah, fabulous.
Wow.
I would love that. That's
really cool.
That's one that kids are going to have on their mantle for a very, very long time and eventually frame.
I'd be thrilled to go through cards these days.
I know. It brings you back, right? And
awesome stuff.
Still a big market out there. All right. Thanks so much to Upper Deck for having fun with us here all season long. And hopefully we'll do this more often again next year. Still to come here on NHL Tonight. The draft begins 2 weeks from tonight, which means trade talks are heating up. Elliot Friedman joins us with the latest on some hot topics from around the league and what lies ahead for the Seattle Kraken after this.
Unwrap is presented by Upper Deck. UpperDeckEPack.com lets you buy, open, and collect your favorite hockey cards from anywhere at any time. Get a free pack every day just for logging on. Visit upperdeckepack.com today.